What's up guys, Matt from vapefuse.com here, back again helping to keep you up to date with the latest and greatest in herb vaping news and tech. Now one of my all-time favourite portable vapes that didn't actually make it to our best vapes 2018 list is the Flowermate Swift Pro. Now the Swift Pro is a super simple device to use, but it has a couple of ultra premium facets that help just elevate it into that premium portable vaporizer category, along with the likes of the Solo 2, the Crafty, Hydrology 9, etc. So this device was notably the first device to feature interchangeable chamber rings. Now I know the Boundless CFV version 1 did also offer the similar interchangeable rings, but the Swift Pro is the first device that I've used that uses this form of technology. So when I talk about interchangeable chamber rings, when we look at a vaporizer chamber, the most usual components that we find in vape chambers, especially in portable devices, come from ceramic, aluminium, stainless steel, even quartz in some devices. And with the case of the Flowermate Swift Pro, they've included 4 interchangeable rings that are constructed from borosilicate glass, African palisander, American palisander wood, and bamboo. So basically all you have to do to replace the chamber wall is you take this little Flowermate branded tool that they've included with it, you stick it in the chamber, sort of give it a little turn until the O-ring comes out, and you'll see I've just had the borosilicate glass ring in there. So you see it just fits snugly into the chamber. And that's where you're gonna put your herb. So this is actually the wall that surrounds the herb. And this is a full convection vaporizer, as in the chamber doesn't reach the temperature that the device displays. It's more the air that's being generated that's pulled through the ceramic heating element in the bottom of the chamber. And that subsequently helps to heat up the herb. So this device, as I mentioned, has these 4 chamber rings. So I usually like to go with the borosilicate glass. It gives you the most pure tasting vapor I've found. But these other rings, so the American palisander like I have here, that sort of slides right into the chamber like this, they offer subtle differences that I find, very subtle differences. So for example, if you're vaping with herb that's a little bit more moist, I'd go with the bamboo ring, because moist herb obviously has not the full terpene-rich flavor that you'd expect from dried cured herb. If you've got something that's maybe a little bit more regular and not so top shelf, I find that using these wooden rings imparts subtle flavors that just helps to make it a little bit denser, perhaps increase the terps a little bit more woody notes to it. But really, if you're using the borosilicate glass ring, you're gonna notice no difference. It's almost like you're using a Solo or even the original Flowermate, which was always very good for its flavor. So now, as I mentioned, this Flowermate Swift Pro is actually the first Flowermate device to break out of that traditional box style. And so they came out with the V5 Nano earlier in the year. And although that is an awesome device, it is quite similar and basically just an improved version to the original Flowermate V5 OS line. So with the Swift Pro, they've gone more down the line of the X Vape FOG, the Storz Bickel Crafty and Mighty. So they've brought in that traditional sidewinder style. So it's got the straw mouthpiece on the top, and the top cap here is referred to as the cooling unit. So that helps to cool down the vapor. It can be taken apart into a number of pieces for an easy clean. And so basically just in the chamber here, if you look sort of in the inside of the Swift Pro's chamber, you can see in the bottom, as I've got this screen out right now, there's a ceramic heating element with 5 pins. So the air that is drawn through this little air hole pocket in the bottom, which is perhaps the only real flaw I see of the device. It's if you're covering that with your finger or whatever while you're having a toke and no vapor's coming through, well, that probably explains it. So with this one, as I mentioned, it's got the little ceramic element at the bottom in the chamber, and then you just choose either the wood or the borosilicate glass, whichever insert you have based on your preference. So after you've chucked that O-ring back on the top, put your screen back in, all you have to do is basically just get your herb, grind it down. You're going to want to pack the chamber. It accommodates about 0.2, 0.3 of a gram of dried herb. So I'll actually switch that up right now just to show you guys. I'll chuck in the borosilicate glass ring because that's my favorite. So I said it keeps the majority of those terps and stuff intact. So we just get the chamber screen, whack him down the bottom. So that's just helping to draw that full convection vapor through. So there's very little contact between the heating element and the herb. So you're not actually getting any chance of combustion or anything like that. Now, although this one does take a little bit longer to heat up than say a Crafty or a Mighty, and the amount of time it takes to start blowing clouds, maybe on the 2nd or 3rd large draw, but the vapor that this one generates is really phenomenal. It's just up there with the Hydrology 9, the DaVinci IQ for the best tasting vapor that I've come across in a portable vape. Now, what's interesting is I recently tried out the Boundless CFX, and that had a very similar flavor and terp profile to the Swift Pro, but it's just lacking that last tiny bit that pushed it up to that top category. I mean, this borosilicate glass ring really just does things. It's like the original Flowermate that came with the borosilicate glass mouthpiece that screwed into the top. They utilized a semi-conduction, convection form of heating. and that always had the phenomenal flavor, but towards the end of the session, it always started to get a little bit too burnt, charcoaly for my liking. With the Swift Pro, full convection, just takes any combustion out of the mix, and this device will keep blowing massive clouds to the end of the session. And then when you get rid of your AVB, it's gonna be a sort of a yellow tinge, definitely no black, maybe a light shade of brown. But I'll pack this one up now. So what they've got included in the kit, they've gone full out on the accessories. They've also got this sort of universal filling chamber that pops into the top. Also works with a Crafty, with a Mighty, stuff like that, with the X Vape FOG, any of the Boundless Tech vapes. So pretty much what you do is you get a grinder. I use a grinderoo because it uses a sort of semi to medium fine grind. Obviously pieces that are too large, it's not going to atomize, you're going to get that denseness of the clouds you're looking for. Too tiny pieces is just going to pull through the mouthpiece. Even if it does have a little screen, you can see the Swift Pro has quite a wide screen on the base. So using a device like the grinderoo that delivers a medium fine grind is awesome when you're using a vape. So I've got some chocolate in here that I've ground up. I've got my borosilicate glass chamber, the little filling aid. It's a lot easier for using the filling aid. If not, there's some little grooves around the top of the thing here, around the O-rings, where you sort of slide the top cap on, and it's pretty prone to getting clogged up with bits of herb, like all of these Sidewinder devices. So I packed that one nice and tightly to the top so we can get some dense clouds from the start of the session. Just remove that filling aid and replace the top cap. Now, the only other flaw, as I mentioned before, with the little air hole intake in the bottom, the display. Now, Flowermate, this has been a trend throughout all of the devices, so I really think they have to revisit this. The V5 Nano did have a bit of an improvement on the original Flowermate vapes, but as you can see from turning this one on, just 5 clicks in the normal style, it's very difficult to see the display, and especially in light. So if you're out and about in full sunlight trying to get a vape on and you're trying to set your temperature, it's quite difficult to decipher what it's reading. But if you're in a normal, just in a house environment in a dark room, it's going to be fine to read. So this one has full spectrum temp control, 40 to 230 degrees Celsius. It doesn't do concentrates, but it would work with a liquid powder from a Crafty or a FOG or something like that. I usually start this one off at 175. It doesn't need to be as high as some other devices. I find that for some reason, a few vapes that I can start off with in like a 170, 175 range, like the Argo, Swift Pro, CFV, and CFX, whereas other devices like the Solo, the Crafty, etc., really got to push it up to 180 to get those clouds going. So I've set this one, as I said, 175 degrees Celsius. I've held down the button, this little function button at the front. Once you've held that down, it'll start the heating up period. So mine's actually kicked it up. It's at 175 now. You can see it's got the little oven element just on the display there, so you can see that it's heating. So let it rip, guys. So as I said, not too much vapor off that first straw, but phenomenal flavor. That borosilicate glass ring, really, it's almost like you're opening up a big bag of herb and sticking your nose in. That's the flavor that this device is able to impart on you. It's just fantastic. I'll have a couple more with some clouds. Oh yeah, so definitely some more visible vapor that time. You actually see it's coming out of the mouthpiece at the end there. So as soon as you've got 1 or 2 tokes on, you can really start to pull some clouds out of this one. Oh yeah, that's done it. So really guys, for both novice and veteran vapors, this is going to be an awesome device. So if you're a flavor connoisseur, someone that's really into terps or having good tasting weed or using a vape that's going to do that top shelf flower justice, the Flowermate Swift Pro is definitely the device for you. So it's a little bit pricey and it is a little lightweight. It doesn't have a removable battery, so people sort of don't associate that premium class to it. But really, I had the same impression before I started using this, and after the first session I was just hooked. Just the flavors that this thing is able to create is fantastic. And talking of the battery life, it is quite substantial. You can get a 45-minute little burst of sessions out of this before you get to whack it back on charge. And it does have that micro USB port in the bottom. So if you want to load it up on the go using a laptop or a power bank or whatever, you can do as you wish. So as I said, awesome device for both novices and veterans. You can catch the Flowermate Swift Pro in the VapeFuse store. Thanks for watching guys. Remember to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest and greatest in herb vaping news and content.